All right, so we are live there. Let's see if we can incorporate our other audience.
The disappearing MC.
And there it is.
Ah, he's
All
back.
right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rates and Lanes podcast. I'm your host, Rico Muhammad, and my co host is right underneath me, Mr. Chuck Snow. And tonight, our resident economist joins us again. That's right above me, Mr. Michael Lampel. It is one of those evenings where I tell you what, we kind of getting into, as they always say during election time, this the economy, stupid. So we're going to talk about the economy tonight,
With somebody
and
stupid.
hopefully get some type of, and hopefully try to get some type of, maybe get some forecast on what we're looking like, maybe potentially going into next year. But before we do all of that, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you guys and girls would do us a huge favor, please like, share, and subscribe to the show. It helps us out tremendously. It doesn't cost you a dime, but it helps us get into a broader algorithm, and we need all the help that we can get with that. And also, if you guys would hit the like and subscribe button, leave a comment. That also helps us get into a broader algorithm. And getting into tonight's proceedings before we go any further, want to just talk a little bit about the price of diesel fuel. We're showing that the average U.S. cost of diesel fuel has uh, increased by almost 10 cents per gallon since we last talked. We're showing that the average diesel price is showing $3.84 per gallon, and that's up about 9 cents since this time last week. And moving on, jumping over into the different segments really quickly on the spot market, we're showing that the drive-in segment of the spot market has uh, lost some value, showing at an average rate of $2.07. It's down 2 cents from this time last week. Flatbeds are coming in at $2.49 per mile on average. That's 3 cents lower than this same time last week. And we're showing that reefers coming in at $2.51 per mile on average on the spot market, and that is showing that it is 1 cent lower than this same time last week. And so that kind of catches us up on the particulars as far as rates and what diesel fuel is doing. Um, and it's very interesting. We want to talk economy, and of course, we want to talk trucking economy. Um, so, Michael, I'm not sure. I guess the first question that I'm gonna throw out there at you is I'm not sure how closely you may have been following the United States as far as when it comes with the non-domicile CDL um, situation, and also coming into the dealing with the English proficiency, how that has somewhat affected the spot market and the freight economy here in the United States for probably about the past 30 days now. I'm going to say. I don't know how closely you have been following that, or if you're familiar with that at all. But I'm curious as to your thoughts on that if you have been following.
Well, I've been following it. I see it. Chuck and I have spoken it a few times. Um, it's a bigger issue than just one or two drivers. I know Chuck will definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
It's a byproduct of policies that were designed for one purpose, but as they say in the United States, once you start that slippery slope, it grows into a ski hill.
Yeah. Very quickly.
Right? It started out as a toboggan hill, it ended up being a ski hill. And I think right now what you're getting in the United States and Canada is having the
Yeah.
same issues, by the way. Don't think it's not happening here. It's happening here too, which is, you started a program to help one certain sector of the economy and it just ballooned out of control. So yeah, I see the non-CDL issues, but
Well, yeah, they definitely took advantage. Well, people learned really quickly to find the loopholes, and definitely
sure.
took advantage of the system by not having work permits and everything to kind of help justify the whole situation behind the non-domicile CDL.
Right, but I think it was a bigger issue because now what you're going to get into is you're going to get state wars going at each other. As you could see, Texas, they pull over drivers from California and New York in order to check their driver's licenses.
There is a lot of that, but now the feds have gotten
Correct.
involved,
And that's the next one.
yeah, that's you've got ICE involved in Western New York, just outside of Buffalo, that just yanked a bunch of non-domiciled CDL drivers. So I realized the trucking industry needed to be saved because number one, there's no two doubts about it. We have a lot of untrained drivers. No two doubts about it.
But I do have a question with the non-domiciled CDLs. How are they able to get insurance?
They get fleet insurance. It's a little hard. It's a little harder up here in Canada. It's much harder to get insurance here than it is in the U.S. You can get a fleet policy that is, especially some of the big carriers. They have fleet policies, and a lot of them are self-insured through captive.
Self-insured.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're called captives, and you insure like the big ones. JB Hunt, Schneider, Werner, they would all be members of captives, and they would cover, a company that size would probably cover the first $1 million themselves.
Oh, well, we all know lawyers in the United States never exceed $1 million in a claim. It's like, we're going to take money from your great grandchildren in the future. Your next 12 generations are going to owe us money.
But where does this all, where do you think we are heading in our economy? Do you see a turnaround? I don't feel it in the air. Certainly not in Canada. I can't see how they're going to in the States, because I'm hearing all sorts of stories about lack of inventory of raw materials because companies haven't had time to transition to nearshoring their raw materials, so they're just not getting them.
We're going back to the 1970s. We're going back to the time of stagflation. Inflation, no growth.
And that's
yeah, we're in there now. Go ahead, Rico.
So on a global scale, I just wanted to kind of ask a question as far as on a global scale, how big of an effect are the tariffs having as well? Because I definitely know that we're feeling, you're starting to feel the effects of that. I know that they say that they're really affecting Canada, but as far as on a global scale, how much of an effect are the tariffs having on the global economy?
Well, the tariffs are having an effect, but it's not tariffs for economic purposes, tariffs for political purposes. And, our premier in Ontario pissed off the hell out of Trump when he put up that stupid commercial and he dubbed it using Ronald Reagan's speech. But if you actually listen to Ronald Reagan's speech, Ronald Reagan says, I use tariffs, but I have to when I need to, meaning I'll use the tariff as a political tool. Right. And President Trump understands it's not an economic tool. It's a political tool. And so far it seems to be working to his benefit because he's beyond the deals. I mean, I give him full credit. He's the first guy in my lifetime has got something approved by the UN Security Council. All my life, those guys couldn't agree on what to order for lunch. Forget the world. That's the first guy who's ever gotten the UN Security Council to agree on something.
He's definitely strong arming everybody. There's no two doubts.
Oh no, but I mean, think about it, guys. We're talking about the UN Security Council, which has China, US, and Russia as permanent members, and all it takes is one veto. Have never agreed on anything, which is why nothing has ever gone through the UN Security Council until today. This is the first time in my life that something actually got approved by all members of the UN Security Council. So to your question, Rico, the tariffs are realigning things because there are, and I'm going to give it to them, there are justifiable political issues that the majority of previous administrations didn't want to rock the boat and just wanted the skating party to keep going, even though things got worse and worse and worse.
And are you talking about America and Canada's addiction to foreign-made cheap goods?
The world.
Okay, we go to Walmart, we can buy a T-shirt for $3. It's not a great T-shirt, but it's $3. You have a shirt on. Rather than going and buying, I remember when you know, 50 years ago, an American or Canadian made T-shirt was $10.
Yeah.
You know, that's a half a century ago. Now it's $3 at the Walmart clear-out rack.
But the economies, the bigger issue is if you're talking about reshoring, Rico, you're talking about all this. What you're really talking about is companies are now going to have to go
Right.
back to the 1990s. What happened in the 1990s was, if I'm a shirt manufacturer and I needed T-shirts from China, just to give an example, China wasn't going to send me $1,000 worth of shirts at a time. China says, I'm sorry, you're going to have to put in an order for $1 million of shirts at the same time.
Right.
But what that meant, Rico, was I now had $1 million less in my bank account. So my capital was now going to have to be tied up for a lot longer somewhere else. And that meant that I can't put it to use within my own company, right? I have to buy all the materials and everything in advance.
Oh, because you're prepaying. So when companies like Walmart, when they place a big order, and I'm just using Walmart as an example, they're paying that. They're paying before they receive the product.
Well, I mean, what happened was, we're going back way back in time, Rico, and this we're going to get to trucking in a second. What made the trucking industry explode was just in time.
Yes.
That's what made it explode. All of a sudden, it's like, I don't need you to make 1 trip a week. I need you to make 4 trips a week. Why? Because the guy over there is not shipping me all of my goods in one time. He's saying, come back, get more, come back, get more, come back, get more. Because he'd hold on to the inventory and I wouldn't pay him until it reached my dock.
Right.
So I would order. Walmart is a very good example. Walmart, and they were the ones who revolutionized the whole thing. They said, we're going to buy $1 billion worth of shampoos, but we want you to ship it to us 5 bottles at a time. And we're going to pay for 5 bottles at a time. The other guy at the warehouse, the guy who manufactures the shampoo, he's been told, you have to hang on to the shampoo until we order it. But that meant if I'm Walmart, I don't need to lay out $1 billion. I just lay out $1,000 at a time.
Right.
So I take that $1 billion and now I can put it into expansion in other ways, because I don't need to tie up that capital somewhere else.
Right.
And we're going back to those days.
Okay. So do you think just in time is going to go the way of the dodo bird?
I think it already has. I mean, you look at the border issues between Canada and the US, which were the biggest beneficiaries of just-in-time.
Yes.
Right? Canada was a massive beneficiary of the just-in-time system in the United States by storing everything in Windsor and in Buffalo and in Windsor, Niagara Falls, Queenston, Toronto, wherever. You keep it within the border, and then you just auto industries, auto parts, just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that was truck drivers going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all of a sudden moving a load from Indiana to Toronto.
But speaking of all of this, you bring up the auto industry, and right now the auto industry is not, they're suffering a good little bit, still trying to figure out this whole EV revolution. And with more and more cars, they're trying to go EV, but the consumer's not really crazy about the EV. They're not really selling. But with the EVs, they take way less parts than they do with the regular combustion engine. And how big of an effect is all of this having? Because now you're having, like down in Georgia, they're building a Hyundai plant, and they had an ICE raid down there. They got rid of some of the engineers and stuff that were over here helping put the plant, get the plant online. The one thing that they kind of backtracked on was that they said, hey, we have to have these people here to because the skilled labor, you don't have we don't, in the United States, they don't have the highly skilled labor as far as the things that they require to get everything going from what has been reported. So with all of this stuff tying in with the less parts with EVs, and they're trying to make the big push to get everyone to convert over to EVs and all this stuff, in the grand scheme of things, how is all of this stuff having an effect with the economy, and also, the trucking economy combined with that, because there are less parts moved to build those EV cars?
Well, first off, there isn't any. The first problem is There's way too many car companies in the world. The second problem is there isn't one car company. There's now 3 different types of car companies. You have a gas engine car company,
Right.
hybrid car company, and an EV company. Right? You got 3 different types of cars being made, not one anymore. So, and the other part is Porsche just lost money. Porsche just lost money. They can't sell their cars. Germany laid off 35,000 auto workers, which they'd never done. Germany's never laid off auto workers. There's too many car companies. And on top of that, millennials don't get driver's licenses.
Yeah, you're right.
So forget the EVs, they're on e-bikes.
Yeah, they live in metropolitan areas.
So the car industry is going to go through a massive transformation. An example, you talk about EVs, the new Toyota is saying that their new batteries are going to last 40 years. So the entire, yeah, they're going to last 40 years. And they're on the break. The solid state batteries coming out are going to be way longer and way cheaper to produce than the current EVs. So good luck to anybody bought an EV.
Mike, excuse me for interrupting. Toyota was one of the ones that stopped. They stopped doing anything with EVs for a while. Correct?
They never got into it.
Right. That's what I thought.
They never got into it. They went plug-in hybrids all the way.
Okay.
Which is great. But to your question, EVs aren't the issue. The issue for a trucking company, for a trucker, is if most of your business is focused in the auto parts, start diversifying now.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Because the new generation don't view driving as something that has to be done.
Yeah.
So they're getting less and less driver's licenses.
So with everything that's going on, trucking being a supply and demand industry, in order for things to get better, one or two things has to happen. Either the volume of shipments have to go up or the capacity has to go down. Within the next, say, year or two, which one of those two things do you is more than likely going to take place? Are we going to see more shipping volume going up, or are we going to witness more and more brokers and carriers going out of business?
Well, the carrier system is going to go out of business because the carrier system was initially a centralized depot for distributing the loads, right? I mean, if you were a truck driver, you worked for Yellow. Yellow was nothing more than basically a massive company that would just aggregate the loads and hire drivers to take them out.
Right.
And we all know what happened to Yellow. So the internet, which when the internet began, it was called the disintermediation tool. That's exactly what it's called, which is take the middle out. So any large trucking company was the guy in the middle. The drivers were the necessary part. The docks weren't. Right? Remember those days, Chuck? You'd go off you'd do your runs, pick up all the loads, bring them back to the terminal, and then distribute them out to your drivers. Well, that's because the guy doing the shipping didn't have any way to reach the truck driver. That's why he gave it to Yellow. Here, you come pick it up, bring it to your dock, you give it to your driver. Your driver will come to the dock, he'll get it for the dock and give it to that dock. But Rico, these days, look at your own business. How many times do you go directly to the shipper and directly to do you even go to a terminal anymore to pick up somebody else's load?
Well, yeah, people do, Mike. And also, I think that there's a lot of talk about the big guys just getting bigger. That
they'll do it in 3PLs.
But no, even the big carriers like the Yellows and those guys will continue to grow because they've got the tools to grow. They've got the investment. They've got the technology.
Yeah, I mean, they're still going to pick up loads. But what I'm saying is that if I was a truck driver today, I would do more to go direct to end consumer, direct to the shipper. Why? I can get more money and I can have more control. I would look, if I was a captive driver working for Yellow or whoever, I'm a captive driver. I go to work, I get paid. But if I'm a businessman, I don't want to deal with the Yellows.
Yeah, the issue is still the big shippers don't want to deal with a guy with one truck. Your smaller shippers do, but your big shippers it's not what they do. They make soup or they make dog food, and they go, you know what? We're making dog food. They'll download all their transportation needs to, it doesn't matter who, and you guys just handle this. And they've run their businesses all over. all sorts of different functions within their own business to just third party it to concentrate on the core business.
They do, except for one small detail.
What's that?
80-20 rule. 80% of your customers, 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers. And that's the same for Yellow and everybody else. So the question, Rico, you have to answer is, which 20% of industries provide 80% of the revenue to Yellow? And those are the guys, that's where their vulnerability lies. Their vulnerability lies in that if a lot of them are sectioned just in auto parts or auto things, those are the guys who are going to get killed.
Yeah, 100%. The automotive industry, I could take you on the 401 and show you the number of automotive carriers. There's still a lot out there, but it's scary. I would say from this area, which is just west of Toronto, all the way to the Michigan border, I would say a good 50% of the trucks we see, a good 50% are dedicated to the automotive industry.
A lot of those parts. So Canada will still make parts, but the amount of trips is going to be drastically reduced.
Right, because there won't be as many.
Well, they're going to be aggregating the loads. The tariffs, the just-in-time system. There'll be a lot of things, and companies already moving south of the border to be closer to the manufacturing. So for Rico and his people, it'll be fine, right? But I think for the rest of us, it won't be. But again, even in the United States, there's too many car companies.
Yeah,
Stellantis is on the verge of bankruptcy.
Well, it's similar to. It's too many. There are too many carriers as well, right? I mean, right now, that's the reason why freight rates are still not nowhere near where they need to be or where they should be. I will say.
Right.
So are you anticipating? I guess, like I say, for the next 2 years, my outlook, my guess is that we're going to see more carriers and brokers go out of business versus the volume of freight increasing.
Yeah, because there's a dislocation right now. There's a whole restructuring. The entire world is restructuring their economies to be internalized, right? But I think there's going to be, so if you're a trucking company that's been heavily in the car industry, you've been focused in one region, and that region is going to have a massive realignment in the car industry, you don't have time to just, well, I guess I got to go open a terminal on the other side of the country. It doesn't work that way. It takes time to get customers and realign your, forget that takes time. So if you're not paying it, and this will go back to all of our conversations, if you're a trucking guy today, you better be keeping an eye on your 80-20. If 80% of your revenue is coming from 20% of your clients, you better be following what's going on in your 20% of your clients today. Because if they make a decision, you're going to find about it now. There won't be a 1-year timeline.
No, you're right.
Amazon just laid off a whole lot of people too, right? So,
well, now I'm curious about that. Did Amazon lay off those people because they were able to get technology and robotics to replace them, or are they? What was the reason? How are they going to survive with less people?
Oh, they'll survive, but I mean, it's like a dog eating its own tail, right? Amazon workers are Amazon customers, so Amazon going like, well, in the short term, we'll have a great bump in our price because our profitability will be up. But if you look 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road, all of a sudden it's like, why are orders down? Well, because the people you let off were the ones buying your stuff.
Yeah. Yes.
It's sort of like GM, right? When they fired workers, they go, why is our car sales going down? Because GM workers are the ones buying your cars.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. I remember years ago when Werner came in and cut my rate to Cleveland from $500 to $300, and it's a 300-mile trip. And I had this company, I'm not going to mention the name on the show, but they make hot tubs. And I'll never forget, the guy called me. He says, I got to go Werner because they're $300. You're $500. And I thought 500 was pretty reasonable. And I said to the guy, who do you think is going to buy your hot tubs when none of my guys are working?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's been going on for years. I think Rico's in the best space, being that in food, because no matter what, people are going to eat.
Yeah, that part, that's a staple.
Yeah, but and it's been amazing. We know, talking with Dean Croak over the past couple of times that we talked to him, how even food shipments are down.
Yeah, the Ozempic effect, 3%.
because of all of the different things with the
Well,
yeah.
two effects. So Ozempic is going to be the first. So just so you know, Rico, the U.S. government has a projection or a target to lose 135 billion pounds this year. Listen to that number again. They're focusing on the American public losing a cumulative 135 billion pounds. And one of the ways they're doing it is by renegotiating the price of Ozempic and Wegovy and everything else, GLPs, down to the point where it becomes an affordable monthly supply that everybody can afford in the $150 to $250 a month range. Right now, it's between $800 and $1,100 a month. That's why only wealthy people were able to be on that stuff.
Whoa, I had no idea.
So they're negotiating down to the 150, 250 range, which means the majority of Americans. The other part is, guess what's going to happen? SNAP benefits.
Right.
Do you know how they changed that, Rico?
No, I just heard a little bit about it during the shutdown that they
No, they canceled.
stopped they cut them off for a little while.
No, they did something before that.
Oh, okay.
Want to know what they did?
Yeah, what? Tell us.
No more junk food.
Yeah, let us know.
No more junk food.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, Rico, packaged products isn't celery. It's Frito-Lays.
Right.
No more Frito-Lays.
Right.
They're
In
really
other words, you can now use your SNAP benefits for 5 categories of food, and junk food ain't one of them.
Wow, this is great. It's really going to.
So yes, that'll have an effect on shipping because what do you mean Frito-Lay's no longer under benefits? No. Oreos? No. What's it? Chicken, fish, pasta. Packaged goods are no longer going to be covered by EBTs and SNAP benefits.
Well, that's going to have
Interesting.
That's going to have huge effects. Do you know that one of the largest tracts of excellent continuous farmland in the world is, I say continuous because it doesn't break, is between the area just west of Pittsburgh at the Ohio border all the way to Oklahoma. And I think it's 90% of that land is used for raising animal feed and junk food. And that's going to have a big impact on it.
Rico, the 80-20, if 80% of your business is hauling Frito-Lay, yeah, it's going to affect you. Rico, I mean, I'm sure you heard the news. How many people do you think are getting EBT and SNAP benefits in the United States?
I'm not sure. I actually haven't been keeping up with it.
42 million.
So more than 10% of the population.
And those are urban, those are predominantly, of course, low income, who buy the majority of the junk food.
Yeah, because it's cheap or supposedly cheap.
Yeah,
and who's the number one? Who's the number one retailer?
You got.
Who's the number one retailer of junk food?
Walmart, probably.
Walmart. You see what I'm saying about the knock-on effects?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hold on, I've got a question, Mike.
One thing ties into the other.
I have a question. The U.S. government has been sending ICE into all these agricultural areas and arresting illegal immigrants for picking produce. And now these people that depend on junk food for their nutrition are going to have to get vegetables. Who's going to pick the vegetables?
The people who are on SNAP benefits because they put in a requirement for work.
Okay.
Right. And by the way, Rico, he's only taken 500,000 people out of the system. Barack Obama took out 3.3 million out of the system.
Well, not only that, I mean, you talk about picking the vegetables, but when I go to these chicken plants now, beef, the beef plants and everything. There are a lot of people that are foreign that you know that's doing that work.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the majority of them. And it's not so. I don't know. It's kind of crazy to see how this whole thing is going to play out, because I don't know if you saw this story, Chuck, that the United States Postal Service, they enacted the thing about the non-domicile drivers.
Yeah.
And within a week they had to go back and rehire all of the people that they ended up saying were unqualified because they couldn't get anything moved.
And the mail has to move.
So that's right. So it's going to be it's going to be real interesting to see. It's got a lot of sweeping changes coming down, but it's going to be super interesting to see exactly how all the execution of all these sweeping policy changes have an effect. Definitely having an effect on the like I said, the non-domiciled and the English proficiency is definitely having somewhat of a huge effect on the spot market, especially in certain states, in certain areas, because you got people that are afraid to even go through certain areas because of the crackdowns.
But that won't have any effect on your economy. Barack Obama removed 3.3 million, and that had no effect on your economy.
But the economy was stronger then, correct?
No, we're talking 3.3 million he deported, and that didn't have an effect on the economy. This is a massive realignment, because just the other day, a major car company said we're short 200,000 mechanics. Who teaches mechanics anymore?
Yeah.
But they need mechanics.
Yeah, they got to bring it back to the schools. They took it out of the schools. They took a lot of the trades. The trades is one thing that they took out of the schools that they definitely have to bring back. You have to, and I think that for anyone that is listening that doesn't want to, that's not necessarily a college person, I think the trades is an area, heating, HVAC, plumbing, electrician. Those are jobs that you guarantee yourself some type of stability.
Right. I mean,
that I don't think that AI can have any effect on.
Listen, if they ever invent a robot that could change the brakes on a Freightliner, you let me know. Right? That'll be the day when you see a robot change the oil on a Kenworth.
Or put in a new hot water heater in your basement,
Right. I mean, so what I'm saying, Rico, is you asked me about where it's going. It is a massive realignment. And I tell again to the brothers and sisters who are listening tonight, with AI, use the information, look at your books, read your data. If 80% of your revenue is coming from one industry or a certain number of clients, plug them into AI. And by the way, this is how crazy. I don't know if you could do this. I know you could do this, but I'm going to tell you could do this, Rico. I'm about to share something you don't know you could do, okay? Suppose you take your number one client and you go to ChatGPT and you say to ChatGPT, I want you to send me a notice anytime there's a news article about this company. It will send you every news item it ever gets.
You can use that.
That's one way to stay on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't need to go home. No. It'll simply say, oh, something came up. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. And you could sit there and you go like, okay, oh, that's their latest announcement. Oh, that's their announcement. And by the way, you don't have to tell it what sites to go to. It'll scan every day. Every day, it'll send you an update of any news on that client. It's going to scan everything. So you don't even need to do anything.
That's definitely one way that's one way that you definitely could use to help make turn a cold call into a warm call.
But you also know, I'll tell you something interesting. Suppose you go to AI and you say, I got a load going to from Atlanta to Miami. Scan the internet, send me diesel updates from any stations along the way, and it'll tell you where the cheapest one is.
Yeah, they pretty much have some of that technology out there already with some of the fueling apps.
No, forget the fueling apps because they're involved in the business. AI is not involved in the business. AI is just scouring the internet and just saying, here you go. The fueling apps have business arrangements with other places that give them the
Right,
thing.
right.
AI has no business arrangements. It's simply scanning the internet and sending you the information.
Well, yeah, but it depends on the reason I say with some of the fueling apps because it depends on the relationship and what card you got as well. Because sometimes those are going to give
AI
you
doesn't
make
care.
sure that you're getting the
but
best
it does for
discount
Mike.
according
This is where it matters.
according to your network.
Oh, I understand. But you could, if you feed that information into AI, you tell it exactly verbatim, exactly what you're saying. It will also scan your credit card company's sites at the same time and send you updates.
Yeah, you know what? I think that one, every trucking company, whether it's one guy or the likes of JB Hunt or Schneider, they've got set fuel vendors because they get they get their discount, and they have to buy a certain volume that they have to gear to in order to get those discounts. So that one's a little harder to do.
I'm not suggesting you do it. I'm saying to you, there's a lot of you use that technology, Rico, to work smarter. And the AI systems can help you do that. They can help you do that. You don't need to now go home and sit there for days and hours programming anything. You simply go to your app, tell it where you're going, and tell this is what I need, and it'll do all the scanning for you and send you an update.
So, Michael, I'm looking at the time as well. We kind of running through it real quickly. Just real quickly, I'm curious to know: Are we within the next year or two? Do we think things are getting better?
Well, that's
or do we think, or do we think it's getting, or is it getting worse?
Well, that's like the old joke, Rico. What's the difference between depression and recession? Recession is when my neighbor loses his job. Depression is when I lose my job. So your audience can pick which one they want. What I will say to everybody today is say, look, sun goes up, sun goes down, politicians lie, everybody does what they're going to do. But, and there's a but, if you're smart about it and you know what you need to do, and technology now has never been cheaper and easier to use than now, use it to be smarter. You want to know who's going to win? The guy who's smarter. The guy who uses it to his advantage and says, yes, I drive a truck, but I'm a business and I need to approach it as a business. And I now have technology that can help me keep my costs down and stay on top of my clients. And they'll just come to my phone. I won't even need to go home and start scouring anything. The ones who will survive are those who are keeping a close eye. Because I will tell you what is going to happen in the next 2 years. There'll be a hell of a lot of changes.
Well, you're right on that. Yeah. And I think you're right on the money when you say it's the ones who treat this as a business. They're the ones that are going to survive.
And as long as they stay 80-20 rule, Rico, find out who 80% of your revenue comes from and follow them like a hawk. Because any changes they made, they'll make the change. In a week, it's done. You hear it on the news, and you don't know why your loads are gone.
Yep.
There's no more like in 2 years, we're going to close down and realign.
Already.
We're closing it down this morning.
Exactly.
And if you have a flatbed, bring it in.
Well, Michael, I definitely. Go ahead, Chuck.
No, and they're saying, you know what? Companies are closing up immediately and repositioning their manufacturing. And if you have a flatbed, you can move the stuff down to Mexico or somewhere in a more favorable environment than where you may be getting loads from now.
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm looking at the time. We're pushing up against it. Michael, I want to thank you for taking the time to come on and kind of help demystify some of this stuff a little bit and give us some type of insight, especially when it comes to making sure that we're being smarter about the information that we're utilizing and where and how we should be utilizing it. That's definitely a feather that we can put in our cap and keep going on down the road with. Anything, gentlemen, before we wrap up and put a bow on it and get out of here? Anything you want to leave us with, Michael?
Well, I used to work for a law firm called Dewey, Cheatham and Howe, and now I'm going to be in politics. I'm going to We Will Screw You and Howe.
And he's going to be here all week, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
Chuck,
listen, if I can help anybody,
let the good people know how they can get in contact with you.
yes, please reach out to me via email, chucksnow280@outlook.com. Put your phone number on the email. As you know, I get back to everybody that reaches out. If I can help you with anything. And with that, Rico, I'll let you back in the hole for another week. Michael, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Always a pleasure. And if I can get one guy to be smarter, make more money, I'm a happy man.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
There we go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys for taking the time out to join us. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you hung out with us, and we're always grateful for you doing so. If you would, please remember, if you found anything entertaining, useful, please subscribe, hit the like button, hit the little bell to get notifications when we post new content. And with that being said, we want you guys to continue to stay safe out there. Keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise, and we'll talk at you same time, same place next week. God bless you and good night.
Catch you on the flip.